What things do you think people should do to actually drive better alignment between sales and customer success? How do we make this happen?
Great question. And I wish there was a silver bullet. That there isn't, but I think there are lots of mini little silver bullets that can absolutely help. You talked earlier on, Jason, about the kind of mind shift change. And I think that is something that is absolutely pivotal. You need to think longer term. Don't just think about this one sale, and really work with your sales team, work with your sales leader, your success leader to help understand that this is about, we want, our ultimate goal is for this customer to achieve their outcomes with us and renew a year in the future, 2 years in the future. So start thinking longer term. We talk about 5 years in the future. But what do you need to do to make that customer a customer in 5 years' time? It changes if you think over a longer term mindset, and get both sales and success both to understand that it's a combination of relationship, it's a combination of the customer journey, the experience, and the outcomes that we're delivering. All of those outcomes over that 5 years are really key. And the key thing is to try and work together to map where on your sales journey, where on the success, the implementation journey, where that sits in the whole customer journey, but where do both teams see it breaking down? Where are problems occurring? I think be open and honest with each other there. I think one key thing is, as well, is how do you work to identify what the behaviors are that are required in all the different parts of your business to help achieve and drive this level of engagement and achievement. And it's really difficult sometimes. I think it's important to understand all of your colleagues' roles, responsibilities, what it is they're delivering, what's the remit that they're meant to be doing. It's important that when you look at new hires, hire for people that are about relationships. I think we're seeing a big growth in the number of subscription professional salespeople. We all know about the customer success manager role and how that's booming, but people are starting to think about relationships. So hire for that relationship, that trust, and the collaboration. One of the bigger challenges quite often is how do you get your C-level to work to these new behaviors? But I think we're beginning to see that. And on the webinar that we did on customer centricity, I'm a big believer in the role of a chief customer officer or somebody at the exec level that is ultimately responsible for helping break down those internal barriers, those silos, and building those relationships. No one person in the organization owns the relationship, but somebody can help spearhead it and tactically look at what they can do. Getting it has to be a top-down thing.
I agree. I think we're seeing more of that in newer companies and earlier stage startups where they have an expectation from the very beginning that this is our business model. I still see quite a few challenges there for folks that are from an older mindset or older, on-prem traditional sale model to make that shift where they may instinctively understand it, but they are not prepared to take the actions. And we've worked with a couple of organizations where, the C-levels would give some lip service to them and do a little bit of stuff and would nod their head, but then ultimately they weren't committed to take the action necessary because I think there was still a perception that it wasn't critical and essential yet, that they were still doing fine the way they were. And, I think the writing was on the wall that you're fine for now, but you won't be 5 years from now if you don't make some of these transitions. So I think that's still a painful area that hasn't quite reached its peak yet.
I think you're so right there. And I think what I think one key thing that's really important to do is absolutely share feedback across the business, sales feedback, win-loss analysis, what happened on deals, why we won them, why we lost them, but share it. But then also why do we lose customers? So do the same thing at the other side of the journey. When customers leave us, share that. What are customers saying about us that isn't as great? And I like the idea of customer feedback wall within a business where we can share throughout the whole business so it's fully democratized. Everybody can see what customers are saying. And I think that kind of kickstarts that whole collaboration. I think that's really important to do. I think the other thing that we talked about, Jace, was looking at the different compensation models, not just for sales, but also for customer success. And how do you align the model so that we're rewarding long-term behavior? Look at sales selling on the basis of outcomes, not just feature and functions. And also look at sales to sell. A part of what they're selling is customer success. So how do they get rewarded for that? How do customer success reward for it? We're not necessarily charging for it. A lot of organizations don't charge for customer success, but we should still pitch it. It's a fundamental thing, and absolutely a big differentiator for us. When it's done right, we can deliver those long-term outcomes. I think something it's sorry, Jace, go on.
I was just going to say too. I think right now, as many organizations are all still trying to figure out what customer success is. Many of the customers, they're inundated. They have so many software vendors and they have different flavors of customer success that they're experiencing. Over time, they're going to become a more savvy buyer and being able to understand which customer success services that they need to actually achieve success with any given software, and that will factor into their buying decision. So I think those sales teams now that can position customer success and explain the value and demonstrate this is how we help you achieve those business outcomes, they're going to have a leg up, in probably even just in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. I think a couple of other points that you can look at tactically what you can do. I'm a big believer in customer success having an input into vetoing deals that they believe won't be successful with a customer post sale. Not necessarily where it's not an ideal fit customer, but where if success are involved in the sales function, we're part of the sign-off. Is it a deal that we want to go through? But make people understand that. So start talking about the idea of success, having the authority to veto deals that are not going to be successful, where we all agree they're not going to be successful. And this isn't just customer success saying they're not going to be successful. We've got an exec team within the business to say, we agreed this business isn't a good fit. We don't need to do this sale, but have the authority to veto it.
Just one of the things related to that, I've posed with a couple of customer success professionals and to a couple of clients, just the question, what would it look like if instead of customer success reporting up to sales in your organization, if sales reported up to customer success? And if the mindset was really around how do we reward that long-term, renewal chain all the way through? And I think just sort of flipping that question around starts to say, it would be a very different relationship then.
It's great that, because I think we will see over time leadership. We've already seen a transition to more customer-centric leadership. I think that's going to continue. I've seen different organizations where success reports into sales, vice versa. I've seen sales and success report into one person, but that one person has to be more customer-centric. And you're so right that we're beginning to see that. I think the other key thing is we talked earlier on about the handover or hand overlap, but it's fundamental that is done. It's done well, it's documented, and it's signed off. So it isn't just about sales to success, but also sales to implementation, adoption, professional services. It's success then to support. That handover is critical. I want my sales teams to have documented what the outcomes are and how our customers are going to achieve those. That comes across to success, implementation. We document those as well. We've signed them off. But that handover is so critical. I'd even encourage having your sales guys sit in on the first implementation call. It doesn't need to be a big ask, and I know our sales guys are under huge pressure to deliver and work on new deals, but it gives you far more seamless handover when the salesperson that you've been involved with is on that same call. He knows what's going on. He or she knows what's going on in those conversations. That really can be a game changer as well. And I think that the final thing I'd add in here is really keep working on team alignment. I said earlier on, have sales and success work together on a joint meeting. Have sales join success meetings, vice versa. Your sales leadership and success leadership objectives, make sure the leaders' objectives are aligned and both in sync with each other. What you don't want is a very aggressive sales targets that you cannot deliver because of different success objectives. But you need, and have the sales team understanding what the success team's objectives are as well. I think that is really critical. Have sales involved, talk to them, and what their involvement can be with the renewal. What help do we need from them? If we're talking about them getting commission on the renewal, they've got an interest in it. What involvement do we need from them? When do we want them in there? It isn't just a signature. We want them to come in and do the necessary negotiations, but involve them in the run-up to the final renewal. Get both teams to share wins and losses. I think that is really critical. Wins and losses on the sales side, but also churn. When we have churn, why have we had it? Understand that. What worked well? What hasn't worked well? What are the really key learnings that we can have from each other? And the last point I'd say is, the sales team do a demo of our products that really gets our customers really excited. They get this. It's solving a problem for them. It's delivering some outcomes. To then have a success team come in and say, this success, the software only enables the outcome. Let's talk about how you achieve it. We want to change that, and we want everybody aligned so that people are really excited from that demo. Success come in, then talk about the outcomes, but talk about the changes that they need in their organizations as well. And I think having that involvement there in the two is really critical and can really reap rewards for you.